and mentally stable.
Please welcome to the stage the funniest, the wittiest, the most diabolical. To tag, even at their own expense. But why don't I let them show you what I mean?
Moses stood at the gates of Pharaoh's palace, his face set in grim determination. Beside him was Abel, a silent sentinel whose presence seemed to cast a long shadow over the scene. Pharaoh, seated on his golden throne, wore an expression of malevolent pride. By his side stood Cain, his influence evident in the dark, twisted aura that surrounded the ruler. Pharaoh's eyes narrowed as he regarded Moses. "You dare come before me again, Hebrew? What more do you seek to ask of me?" Moses took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Pharaoh, let my people go, so they may serve their God. You have been warned, and yet you continue to defy the will of the Almighty. Release the Israelites, or face the full wrath of the plagues." Cain's eyes flickered with unease as he caught sight of Abel, who stood silently, his gaze piercing and unwavering. It was as if Cain could feel the weight of his brother's judgment, and for a moment, fear crossed his features. Pharaoh scoffed, a sinister smile playing on his lips. "Your God holds no power here, Moses. I will not be swayed by threats or by the ghostly presence of your silent companion." Moses raised his staff, and thus began the first of the 10 plagues. As Moses struck the Nile with his staff, the river turned to blood. The fish died, and the stench filled the land, making the water undrinkable. Pharaoh's magicians attempted to replicate the feat, to no avail, hardening his heart. "I will return in 28 days, 1 month. You have until then to let my people go." After a month Moses returned. The Pharaoh refused to admit him entry. The Pharaoh, in his infinite wisdom, believed he had bested his adoptive brother Moses. Moses again lifted his staff. When he slammed it down, the second plague, the plague of frogs, swarmed the land, invading homes and filling the streets. The Egyptians could find no relief from the relentless amphibians. Yet Pharaoh's heart remained unmoved. "Again I will return in 28 days, you have until then to let my people go." This time when Moses struck the dust, and it became lice, infesting people and animals alike. The magicians could not replicate this plague, admitting the power of God. Still, Pharaoh's resolve did not waver. Again he gave the warning. Swarms of flies descended upon Egypt, corrupting everything they touched. The land of Goshen, where the Israelites lived, was spared, highlighting the divine nature of the plague. Pharaoh relented momentarily, only to change his mind once the flies were gone. A severe disease struck the livestock of the Egyptians, sparing those of the Israelites. The economic and emotional toll was immense, but Pharaoh remained obstinate. This time he was met with a great feast. "Please Moses, for I cannot release the people of Israel. Those men are slaves like their father and fathers before them. May I appease you with gold? Will it cause your pointless attacks to stop?" Anger exploded in the void, as the room darkening around Moses. Moses and Aaron took handfuls of soot and threw it into the air, tarnishing the meal for symbolism. The ash had another effect, causing painful boils to break out on the Egyptians and their animals. Even the magicians were afflicted, but Pharaoh's heart was hardened further. Moses raised his staff toward the sky, and a storm of thunder, hail, and fire struck the land. It destroyed crops and livestock, and those who heeded the warning were spared. Pharaoh admitted his sin, but as soon as the storm ceased, he recanted. An east wind brought a plague of locusts that devoured what was left after the hail. The devastation was complete, but Pharaoh, influenced by Cain, still refused to let the Israelites free. The void, knowing the necessity of action, a palpable darkness covered Egypt for 3 days. No one could see or move, except the Israelites who had light in their dwellings. Pharaoh's defiance grew despite the terror. With pain in their hearts, the 4 creatures knew time grew near. They knew this was the only path. Azrael, the angel of death, flew over Egypt, enacting the final plague. When it struck at midnight, every firstborn in Egypt, from Pharaoh's own son to the lowest servant's child, died. A great cry rose throughout the land. Pharaoh finally relented, allowing the Israelites to leave. As the Israelites hurriedly gathered their belongings and set out for freedom, Pharaoh's grief turned to rage, spurred by Cain's insidious influence. He ordered his army to pursue them, intent on recapturing his slaves. Moses led his people to the edge of the Red Sea. As Pharaoh's chariots closed in, he raised his staff, and the waters parted, creating a path through which the Israelites escaped. Pharaoh and his army followed, driven by Cain's malevolent urging. Once the last Israelite had crossed, Moses stretched out his hand again, and the waters surged back, engulfing Pharaoh's army. Cain's screams of fury were drowned out by the roar of the sea. In the aftermath, as the waters settled, Abel and Azazel emerged from the shadows. Abel, his expression calm yet resolute, moved with an ethereal grace. Azazel and Abel left the side of the Israelites on the Red Sea with such a tremendous force that it reparted the sea. Azazel, fierce and determined, advanced with purpose. They converged on Cain, who stood frozen, terror etched across his face. "Your time has come," Abel whispered, his voice carrying the weight of ages. Abel unleashed a punch, sending ripples through the tapestry of creation, each fiber stretched to its limit. Unknown even to Cain, as further punishment, he would heal from even fatal injuries within minutes. When fully healed, Cain attempted to flee, but Azazel was upon him, capturing him with a grip that brooked no resistance. Together, Abel and Azazel bound Cain, ensuring that his dark influence would no longer corrupt the hearts of men. "You will be trapped in paradise for 100 days past 1,000 years. You will be bound by immortal chains, unable to enjoy the ill-gotten splendor. Upon the day of your freedom you will be brought back to the desert to wander for another 1,000 days. As the sun rose over the horizon, Moses and the Israelites stood on the far shore, witnessing the dawn of their new freedom. The journey had been perilous, but they were finally free, ready to embrace the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey. And in the shadows, the eternal struggle between light and darkness continued, as ancient forces played their roles in the unfolding tapestry of time. With his men gone and his most trusted advisor captured, the Pharaoh watched as his adopted brother rode to freedom. The Pharaoh was so focused, he didn't seem to notice his shadow grow. The void slowly wrapped his long razor-like fingers around the royalty's neck. "Hello, Pharaoh, no, that title is wrong. For you are no larger than a worm who seeks the dark. From now on, your only name is simply the Old Man." His skin decayed almost instantly as he leaked a puddle of black ooze that sizzled when it touched the sand, turning it to glass. "Goodbye." With a single whoosh, the Old Man slipped into darkness.